and happy Friday, and thanks for tuning in to RadioFreeRhinecliff.org. And this show in particular, correct me if I'm Norm, I'm your host, Norm. I'm thrilled to be here tonight with Margot Dougherty. Margot, thanks for coming in.
I am so happy that you finally invited me.
Oh my God, is that how you're starting this? Looking for trouble? I've been inviting Margot for like 3 or 4 years. Like, please come down, I'll give you money, you know.
It was never enough.
And you know, for whatever reason, people have to come, but you were not interested. And then all of a sudden, Jen Hammoud asked, "You're okay? Yeah, I'll do it."
Well, here's the thing.
Hard to not take that. Hard to not take that personally, Margot.
Well, okay, here's the thing. Jen texted me, and I was on a little island in Greece, and I thought anything is possible. Of course, I'll do it. Sure.
Wow,
Yeah.
The island of duress.
The island of relaxation.
in the Cyclades.
I think I was on Tinos. Anyway.
What island was it?
I think I was on Tinos. I might have been on Mykonos.
Okay.
Yeah, just feeling happy
So that
about
is
life.
the Cyclades. There's other island chains there too, right?
Oh God, I want to say Dodecanese, and that's not quite right, but it's
Say
close.
it. Say it. Hopefully somebody will call in and say, no, it's not the Dodecanese.
It's definitely not, but
That's
it's really
a
close to that.
13-sided die used in certain games. Wow. So how long were you there for? That sounds like a blast.
I was there for 2 weeks, traveling first in Athens for a few days, and then we went to 3 islands, Mykonos, Delos, which is just an architectural. It's like an ancient island with ancient temples and statues.
Uh-huh.
That's archaeological and architectural. And then to Tinos, which is another small island that's known for its marble.
For its marble.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And who's we?
There was a group of us, a friend of mine from Boston, and then this woman named Diane Kochilas, and she is a Greek-American chef. And she has a show on PBS. So I had gone to a cooking school, it's a week-long school, on her island, which is called Ikaria, at her house a couple of years ago. And then this trip, she actually took us around. There were 15 of us, and
Wow.
a great guide, and she's just great. So we would go to like a vineyard, and they would have a big spread, and we would have tastings, and we went to to chefs' homes, and they would do a cooking demo for us, and we would eat.
And now you have historically written travel articles.
I have, yeah.
Are you
food,
writing about this?
too? So no, I wasn't writing anything. I just went for fun. But
Okay.
food and travel were sort of things that I wrote a lot about.
And yeah, so you went for fun, but why wouldn't you also write about it and sort of really get reimbursed for a bunch of it, or get some expenses paid? And
Journalism is not what it used to be,
right.
and
You don't need the check for $10.
not just that. The process is so different. It's just really not fun anymore for me.
And so how has it changed? What are the big ways that it changed from what it used to be?
Well, I guess just to sort of backtrack a bit, I worked for Time Inc. for a long time, and then I worked for Los Angeles Magazine, and there were very strict standards about how you reported something, how you wrote something. There were fact checkers. I was a fact checker at one point, the scariest job in the whole world. But there was also a real appreciation for words and for language, and well, as you were saying too, there was more money, so it was less. I just felt you had more space to actually write something creative.
Mm-hmm. So
And now less so.
So did you get out of it sort of because, was that some of the reasons that you got out of it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it a really long time, so I was a little tired
Right.
anyway. Then I was in Los Angeles for the last long stretch of it, and I was writing a lot of celebrity stuff and food stuff, and it just the game had changed significantly, and I just felt like I had kind of done my bit, and now it's time to go.
And why has the game changed?
Social media has made things really different. People's attention spans are a lot shorter, I think. Like instead of having articles, we would write listicles, like literally listicles, just lists, with a little bit of wording.
Right.
And for me, like, I just love words, so that's not fun. I mean, I like writing short too. I think it's a good exercise to write short. I wrote for People for a long time, and you would just cram so much information into a relatively short space.
Right.
But you could also be creative about how you did it. I had great editors. So it's just, and there's so many fewer layers now. When I started out, I started as a receptionist, but once I was writing, you wrote something, at least 3 editors looked at it, 1, 2, 3. Then a copy editor, a team of copy editors looked at it. Then a fact checker looked at it and made any kind of corrections that needed to be made. It was such a process.
Egads. Sounds like a slog.
It is a little bit of a slog, but also it usually made it that much better because you're getting input from smart people, and
Right.
I enjoyed it.
So you just said in passing, you started off in the publishing industry as a receptionist?
Yes.
Okay. And when was
Because I wasn't good enough at typing to be a secretary. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you take a test and you
I did. I was very confident when I went in. They said, "Can you type?" Of course I can type. So then they said, "Okay, why don't you take a test?" And I flunked. So.
and was it like on an IBM Selectric sort of?
Yes,
was it
I think
that
so.
era?
And I had been using something called a mag card machine. Do you know what that is? That was like way. Matt might have known what that was, but it kind of made you think you were typing fast, but you really weren't. So I was a little overconfident.
Overconfident. So they said, well, no go for the secretary job, but
How would you like to answer phones? And it was through Life magazine, so it was kind of like you were the voice of the magazine.
You were the what?
You were the voice of the magazine. I mean, it was the olden days. People called up. That's how you got in touch with people. There wasn't emails or anything like that. It was the phone.
So they would call up, and it's polite to identify yourself when you're calling like that. Did you field phone calls from people who you're a little starstruck with?
I don't think I knew who some of them were. Like I should have been more starstruck than I was.
Right.
There was one woman who I think she was a Miss America or something. I think she was a little put off that I didn't recognize her, but I don't remember the other one.
Well, there you go. That's just shocking that a Miss America would feel that way. So did you go to that job straight from college?
No, I went to college in Boston, then I went to Newport for the summer, and then friends of mine and I started a little, well, not just by ourselves. We had some funding. Like Doris Duke was a funder, and then another guy named I'm blanking on his name, Buddy Sherman. So there were, I don't know, maybe 6 of us who had grown up together in Philadelphia, in the suburbs. And we started the Newporter newspaper out of an old firehouse. And I wrote about apples.
You wrote about what? Apples.
I just remember doing a story about apples. Time to pick your apples. And then also I was a chef, which is a glorified name for what I did at a bar called Chumley Hall. It was a bar restaurant.
Chumley Hall, that sounds like Boston area.
Yeah, it was in Newport, so right on the water. And the firehouse was here, Chumley Hall was here, so I just went from one to the other.
And how did you find yourself in Newport?
How did we get to Newport? Well, I think my
So you
friends
say
had
it was
gone
the
there.
group
Yeah,
of
we were
friends
like a little,
moving on Magnusson?
kind of. I think there were like 6 of us living in a house owned by Miss Brick.
Miss Brick.
We often didn't have keys, so we climbed in the window. And then, so I had friends who did sandwich board advertising.
Sandwich board.
Yeah, but they were wearing like Papagallo dressed like it was cute sandwich boards, and they would advertise the businesses around Newport. So they would just walk around with their bonnets and their sandwich boards. I did that elsewhere, but I didn't do it there. Anyway, so we went to Newport.
Somehow.
Why not?
The group moved en masse to Newport.
Kind of, yeah. Well, we didn't all move from Boston, but we all congregated there.
And then who had the idea? Like, oh, let's start a newspaper.
I don't know. I can't remember. I'm sure I just tagged along. Someone else had the big idea. But I guess I was the right person.
And had you been writing prior to that?
I always wrote. I just went to my 50th high school reunion, and someone there reminded me, yeah, didn't you write that magazine or have that magazine called The Blurb? It was actually called The Bulb, but yes, I did.
The Bulb?
Yeah, so I always wrote.
So where did you have a magazine called The Bulb?
Oh, at Springside School for Girls.
At what?
Springside School for Girls.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where, pray tell, is the Springside?
It's in Chestnut Hill. It's a suburb of Philadelphia.
Philly. Okay. And what kind of magazine was The Blurb?
It wasn't a magazine. It was a mimeograph. I think people just contributed little writings, high school. 11th grade probably,
Right.
maybe 12th. They wrote short things, and then we would use the mimeograph. I don't really remember how that worked. Do you?
Yeah, it was like
Came out blue?
It was like magic. The
Yeah.
mimeograph machine
Yeah.
came out blue. It smelled
Yes,
weird. It had
right.
all these chemicals, and
Right.
like the paper was not even paper.
Kind of shiny.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the bulb. Yeah.
So you had a mimeographed magazine,
Not magazine, really. It was literally like a page.
not even a broadsheet, just a kind of a
Yeah.
couple of sheets.
Yeah.
And do you have the old issues? Of
I
this?
don't. I was never a saver of stuff.
Oh,
No.
huh.
No.
So
That's a loss for the Smithsonian.
because I am a saver of stuff,
Ah.
I'm curious to know, how do you feel having not been a saver of stuff? I'm guessing your whole life?
Pretty much. And I didn't even know I had done the bulb until this woman came up and said, I remember the blurb. So
Right.
things just whoosh. Yeah, I mean, what would I do with it? I do have old magazine clippings. My mother used to save them, so I didn't. And then she announced one day that she tossed them all. So I don't have those.
Magazine clippings with your byline, I'm
Yeah.
guessing. Not just random articles about.
No, mine.
Yeah.
All mine.
So that's so sweet. So your mom was saving this stuff.
Yeah. And then
And-
she wasn't.
And why? Why was she? Did she stop saving?
She was a severe getter-ritter of things.
Oh,
Yeah.
a getter ritter.
Heirlooms. Yeah.
Huh. So she saved it for a while, and then she said, "Do you want it?"
No. We skipped that step. It was just.
It was just.
Now I don't have
I'm
them.
done. I don't need this anymore. And how'd you feel when you found out that all the stuff Mom had been saving had been unceremoniously jettisoned?
I mean, kind of, a little bit of an ouch, but again, really, what would I do with them?
Uh huh.
You know, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't know, but I save anyway.
You can do.
And so Mom was obviously proud of these bylines.
She was, yeah.
Was Dad proud also?
Yes, they were. They both were.
That's nice. And were
Yeah.
either of them writers or artists? Or?
I think my father was, but then 5 kids made him not a writer.
Right.
Yeah. It
Huh.
was a different time, you know.
Yeah.
But in college, I think he was. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And so where
And
did...
my mother actually was too. I mean, not professionally at all, but she was good with the words.
Right. How sweet. 5 kids.
Yeah.
And did any of them grow up to be writers?
Not professionally, but I think we're all kind of writers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And do you still do much writing?
Not as much as I should.
Uh-huh.
Should is a bad word, but you know, not I think about it more than I do it.
Yeah. But somehow in there, just going to like go with the Freud thing here,
Good.
you feel like you should.
Right.
Somewhere, should is the word that pops out. Why do you think that there's that feeling?
Do you have a divan?
Oh, divan? Oh, yeah, sure. We wheel it right into the tiny little booth here.
Good. Because I think at heart I am a writer. Like I am a writer, and also just an appreciator of words. I just love words.
Right.
So I love reading. I listen to books on tape.
So when you're not writing, as it seems you're presently not doing, you feel a little bit a mess, a little
Like a mess.
a mess, yeah, remiss, I guess is the word I'm looking for. You feel like
Well,
you ought
I
to be.
do some writing for Dirty Gaia, which is an eco-education group that I work with, that you know of. And you know, I edit my pets' poetry, and I occasionally write poems for others.
Okay, back it up. You edit your pet's poetry.
Yeah, it's
How
weird,
many-
but all my dogs practically write in verse.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Any particular kind of verse?
very rhymey.
There should be some sort of like punny dog canine.
Well, I
answer
guess
for
it's
that.
like doggerel.
Doggerel. That's good.
But
All
my
right,
cat
now-
also.
Now, I see you looked down to your bag.
I did.
When you mentioned that. And you brought in some
Gratefully, I looked at my bag. Yeah.
some poems written by your pets. Yeah. And are the pets, how many pets do you have?
Well, I have 3 dogs and a cat at the moment.
Uh-huh. Which, are they listening?
I hope so. I don't know.
In case,
I can't really trust them.
Right.
If they're not listening, they're like eating the radio. I don't know.
Well, let's assume they're eating the radio. Just tell me, which one's the best writer?
Well, honestly, the cat.
The cat.
The cat's pretty good.
Would you grace this program with a poem
Yeah.
from the cat?
Yeah.
And then we'll hear if you brought it, like also a poem from the dog.
Okay, so Bob is the cat.
Bob.
Bob was a feral kitten that I got when I was living in Los Angeles. And a friend of mine who's in rescue, she had a friend who's a vet. They had these feral kittens. Could I take them for 4th of July? Oh, adorable. Who doesn't want feral kittens? But really, I said, oh, kitty cats. Oh, that would be so much fun because I just had dogs. I had 4 dogs at the time. So I get these cute little ginger kitty cats, and they are vicious. They are hissing, spitting, biting, like I cannot get near them. I've got on rose gardening gloves that go past the elbow, and I'm trying to feed them. So big surprise, nobody wants to adopt them. But after the weekend is over, I go back to the vet, and I say, oh, here are the kittens. And she said, actually, they're a liability. We can't take them back. So
What?
I had the 2 kittens, and I finally got a nice woman to take the girl kitten, and I have Bob.
Who's the best writer of the batch? Oh, there's
But
a
can you
picture of
see?
Bob.
He looks a little bit like a thug.
Looks a little like you.
I see.
Yeah.
Come
Bob,
on.
what do you call?
Well, he's ginger.
What do you? Yeah.
He's a ginger. Well, I no longer am, but yeah.
Oh, you
We
still
did look
you
just
still
alike.
present as a ginger.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. This is Bob, which he has titled A Debonair Defense. I'm a metrosexual cat whose many admirers notice that my nails are clipped, I'm microchipped, and my studly hirsute neck is set with a leather collar of violet. My thick ginger coat blindly shines with the stolen butters I've made mine. 007, Sean Connery, that's what you'll think when you see me. As an accomplished entrepreneur, I know when to swat and when to purr, and live a life of politesse, except when I make a big fat mess. Say, by way of recent example, that a shabby feral tabby tramples through the yard and leaps on the fence. How can I not, in my defense, get proprietarily incensed? I rattle the chaise, bat the window. With menacing gestures, I demand he go. He's outside, and I am in, but when he dashes, I follow him, soaring onto the kitchen counter, sending the dog bowl crashing downward, hitting a gallon of cranberry juice, which pours to the floor, staining at Puce, mixing nicely with the ceramic shards. That bowl turns out hit really hard. When she runs in to see what's the matter, given the commotion and cacophonous clatter, I sit politely and give her my stare, which translate genteelly to, don't go there. I know deep down I'm one of her faves, and she knows I'll bite if she misbehaves.
Oh my God.
Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Give it up for Bob.
Yeah. Has Bob read a lot of Ogden Nash? And has
He may have.
Has that little jaunty, happy, funny
Yeah.
verse.
I don't know what he reads, honestly. He's got
Version.
his own library card. He gets his stuff out. I don't know.
Well, so did you bring some verse by one of the cats?
But one of the
One
dogs.
of the dogs, I mean.
This is a... Okay, I hope I'm not boring you all out there in Radio Land. This is from Gracie, who is no longer with us, who was a basset hound. Very slow-moving gal. And I've forgotten what this is about. Oh, yeah. She's like in another dimension, always, Gracie was. Gracie notes. With a tricolor carriage long and low, I've always been fond of taking it slow. Nose to the ground is my best yoga pose, and I assume it with more grace than those who tout their mile-high 4-packs of legs. Oh, yes, I can bring those types down a few pegs. Shy at first, I'm the queen of serene, with floor-length ears especially keen. So I hear lots of sounds as I amble along, insects and air gusts singing their songs, in melodies that, quite loud to me, escape my person entirely. She thinks I inhabit another dimension, and I've heard her upon occasion mention that part of my daily regimen must be tapping a stash of hallucinogens, but really it's just the synthesis of endorphins that fuels my bliss. Sometimes when I'm in the zone, I'll stop mid-stride. No reason, really. I just decide. And she'll trip over my stillness to fly and collide with wet patch of grounds on the other side. Words emerge that I don't understand, possibly a garbled reprimand, but she can't help but absorb the false takeaway. Stop going so fast. Slow down. Today. As a lady basset of a certain age, an enlightened seeker, some might say a sage, I offer this truism, a profound one at that. Wisdom may cometh after a splat.
I love that. Wow.
Crazy.
Thank you so much for bringing this in.
You're so welcome. I'm glad
So,
we used up some time.
do you have enough to do a whole book? I think a book
Oh,
of,
funny. I can,
I think a book of pet verse
do you think so?
edited by their human counterpart would be a good thing.
Roy Blunt Jr., didn't he do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
I totally lost
Roy
track
Blunt.
of his.
Roy Blunt Jr.
Yeah. Huh. Well, that was a long time ago,
True.
if he did.
Always room for more Facet Hound verse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were still writing things from time to time, but not really writing for hire.
Right.
And you do, was somebody who I asked, a local Rhinecliffian, said that you helped her write her wedding vows.
Yes.
That's
I
got to be
did.
kind of fun.
I did. I had a lot to go. I mean, she wrote a lot of it, and then I just did a little tap dance.
Did a little tap dance. So it was more an editing job?
It was just like I would say co-writing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so what things did you bring in? Where did you find inspiration for these kinds of romantic things?
Well, she told me the story, so
Right.
I think maybe I just helped tell it in a different way, or I repackaged it. No, really. I mean, and I knew them both, of course, so
Right.
it was easy and really fun for me. I
Right.
love doing that.
And so repackaging, you didn't just work as a writer for Time Life magazine stuff. You worked as an editor
Yeah.
and a bureau chief, I think,
Yeah.
somewhere.
And
both-
sometimes like all those things at once.
And both here in Australia.
Yes.
So
In Australia, I was a writer. Oh no, I was an editor in Australia. Yeah, I was.
okay.
Yeah.
So what is the job of an editor? What did you think made you try to do to be a good editor?
Well, there are two different kind of hats that you wear. One is as a producer, and the other is the line editor. So as the producer, let's say you're doing a story with a celebrity, you figure out who you want to have on your cover, and then can you get that person? So hopefully you have some relationships with publicists, and you negotiate. And if they're going to be on your cover, then you don't want them on other competing magazines' covers. So it's the whole to do. And then
Huh.
let's say you get a yes, and they agree they're going to sit for an interview. Okay, how long is the interview going to be? Where are you going to do it? And then there's the whole photo aspect, because I was always in the magazine, so photos are very important. So then you work with the photo editor, and who's the right photographer for this person? Where should we do the pictures? Who is who will be the stylist? Who will they work with the best? And how do they want? Because also when you're choosing someone, it's not just, oh, they're available, they have a movie. It's like, what's the story? Why them now? What is it what's the focus going to be? And are they a good interview? Like, you want to make sure that there's someone who's
Right.
going to be fun to talk to, as you know. So there's all that rigmarole. And then as an editor, if I'm not writing the piece myself, then I find a writer who's going to be a good match for that person. And then the story is written, and then you just kind of usually go back and forth a little bit after it's written. And I like to, I like it to be in the writer's voice. I don't want to slam in there with my own ideas. I think, you respect the writer. That's why you assign them. But you might help them just question certain things. Is that the best word to use here? Would it be better if that paragraph is before that one? Maybe you have a better opener,
Right.
that kind of thing.
Well, it sounds like a gentle hand kind of.
Yeah, and it's fun. I really think it should be a collaborative process,
Right.
which isn't always the case. I mean, sometimes editors just that's terrible,
And
with
did you
with
work
red
with many
pencil.
editors like that as a writer?
Some, I'm trying to think. I mean, I think when you're working on a weekly where the pace is really, really fast, like People Magazine, you just got to get that stuff out. And it's midnight and people are tired, and there's no time really to send it back to a writer and say, can you make this just a little bit nicer? So, yeah, that was a little more brutal often.
Right. And do you remember any changes that were foisted upon you by a heavy-handed editor that you're like, I can't believe that you still remember, oh, there was a great turn of phrase and so.
There was, oh my goodness, so stupid. It just annoyed me. I had gone to Tequila, Mexico, with a very good chef in LA, and he was making his own tequila. He'd already started making it. And so we had gone into the agave fields, and it's really ridiculous, but it's stuck in my craw. And there were these funny shaped hoes that they would use to kind of chop the agave and dig it up. And they had the semicircular.
Because it's a big bulb.
Yeah.
Thing they use, right?
Yeah. Well, it was almost like a shovel hoe kind of thing.
Right.
Round semicircular on the bottom. Anyway, so the fact checking was serious, and you're supposed to get 2 or 3 different can't think what the word is. Like references that agree to prove that this is in fact a fact.
Right.
And I guess they couldn't find anything to corroborate the fact that it was a semicircular hoe. So they made me take it out. I'm like, I was there. It was a semicircular hoe.
Right.
So, yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yes.
All right. Speaking of semicircular hose and tequila.
Oh, yeah.
As is tradition here on this, correct me if I'm wrong, broadcast, you have brought a libation, an adult beverage for us to enjoy.
I almost brought tequila, but I didn't. So I brought something called the Country Club.
Oh, the Country Club.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's one thing there's several steps.
Well, looks great.
So
I love
this was created by a bartender in LA, Christian.
You got a separate baggie with I'm guessing garnish.
Orange rinds. We have a little coupe here and we're putting the orange rinds around the coupe.
Uh-huh.
And then we're going to pour. So this is cranberry.
It's beautiful.
Syrup that I made.
Oh.
With lime. The cranberry syrup was steeped with various herbs and spices, and lime and and orange infused vodka.
Wow.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah, I'm hanging on. Oh, is this the garnish? Put her in there. Okay.
Wrote it. Yeah.
All right. This is such a beautiful cocktail. Thank you so much, Margot.
Right? I'll have it.
Oh,
do you want some? Do either of you?
Jen Hammoud, our amazing producer, has brought some ice.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Because it's hot out. All of a sudden, it's like, hey, I hope you enjoyed your brief spring because now it's summer.
Do you want cheese? Would you like some feta?
No.
Really?
Yeah, thank you. Oh, you brought a snack too, did you?
Oh, it's not. I don't think. Oh, it is goat. Feta's goat, right?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not crazy about feta. I have tried it.
Give it a whirl. It's Greek.
Thank you so much.
Careful. And then I have crackers.
You brought cheese and crackers and a cocktail?
You know, I'm not a barbarian. I'm not going to have you drink by yourself. I don't want you disappearing under the table.
All right, took a little piece of
drink without
feta.
Okay.
All right, well, cheers, Margot.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Tell me what this drink is called again.
The Country Club.
The Country
Because the bartender got so tired of people coming in for a Cosmo when he makes all these delicious, beautiful elixirs.
Uh-huh.
So he made this, which has Cosmo elements, but it's a little zhuzhed up.
It's zhuzhed up. Zhuzh.
Nice, right? Do you want one? Okay. You sure? Cheese is really good. Thank you. Well, thank you. I didn't make it, but yes.
So you said you went down to Mexico with a tequila specialist chef.
He was a chef in LA. He had a couple of really good restaurants, and he had started to make his own tequila. Yeah.
Okay, and what was that called? Is it still out there?
Oh my God, I cannot remember. His name is John Sedler, and I think he's in Santa Fe now. And I don't remember the name of his tequila. I think it was proprietary. He sold it at the restaurants. I don't know that he bottled it ever.
Right. And so this was on assignment for whom?
For Los Angeles Magazine.
Okay. And how long did you live in L.A.?
About 25 years.
Oh, my goodness.
A long time.
And were you working for L.A. Magazine and the Wall Street Journal?
First for Life Magazine. I had been in Australia, where we started at People Magazine down there. And then I left after a few years and moved. I think I was offered the Life job.
So where were you living in Australia?
In Sydney.
How'd you like that?
Loved it. Loved it. It's a great place. It's such an easy place to land.
Right. And did you learn to surf? Did you Did you
speak Australian?
pick up an Australian accent? Did you
No, I cannot do the Australian accent, which makes me so sad because I love it. It's really hard to do.
Uh-huh.
But I loved living there. It's just a very easy. I mean, we worked like dogs, but it's such a beautiful place, and it has so much beautiful nature and the Great Barrier Reef. Oh, and I went to, Crocodile Dundee. I think I told you that.
What? Crocodile Dundee?
I went to the first time I went before I went to live there. I went with people to interview the guy who Crocodile Dundee was based on, Rob Ansel.
Okay. And that was on assignment for people?
Yeah.
Okay. And People in Australia was called something different?
Who Weekly.
Was it on?
Who Weekly.
Okay. And so you went, so before you moved to Australia, you got an assignment to go down there and interview this guy.
Yes.
Who became known or was known as Crocodile Dundee.
He wasn't initially, I think some people knew, but it wasn't acknowledged by Paul Hogan in that camp that he was the basis for it. I don't think it was acknowledged for a long time, actually.
Huh.
So he was living at the top end, past Darwin, way, way, way far away from anything. And when I went, it was before cell phones, or if there were cell phones, they were the gigantic ones, and he certainly didn't have one. So we were communicating by fax, but he lived in the top end, and he would walk. He was famous for not wearing shoes, so he would walk into town, which was, I don't know, an hour to get the fax, now and then. So when I arrived and I got my little rental car and I said where I was going, and they said, well, we're not going to insure you if you're going there because the roads are so bad. And I got to, I don't know how I even found it. There's no GPS, but anyway, I did find it. And it was just a, kind of barren, dusty expanse with a lot of oil drums. And then there was a great big tree. I guess it was dusk when I came. Great big tree with bats hanging, and a couple of guys under the tree with a barbecue fire going, roasting something or other. And I said, so, Rod here? Nah. No? Are you expecting him? Nah, he's going to walk about. So you don't know when he's coming back? No. So there wasn't a house per se, but there was a cement slab with two sides, I think, to it. So I slept in a sleeping bag for a couple of days, and then Rod came back. And he had been, so I guess the way he was making money was there was a program to lasso feral buffalo, because there was a disease, BT, it's called brucellosis, something, I think. And so for every buffalo he would lasso, they were going to kill them, he would get a certain amount of money. So we went in his Toyo, otherwise known as a Toyota, and I think the side, maybe the tops had been sheared off, so there were still sides. And the terrain was just like gullies, ravines, and gullies, ravines. And I think, kind of fun for him to have the Sheila from the city in the passenger seat.
Sheila. Sheila meaning a woman.
Correct.
Right.
So he was going so fast, and I was just bouncing up and bouncing up. And then he would lasso. He would just and get the buffalo, and he would get out, little guy, wiry, and he would kind of flip it and put his knee into just whatever. And then he would put them in a pen. And I'm not really sure what happened next, but.
And so how did this guy living in the middle of nowhere get on the radar of whoever assigned you this story?
Who knows? I don't know. People had a great network. They had bureaus everywhere.
Bureaus?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
offices for the publication.
So I don't know where it came from.
So you wrote the article, and it appeared in a magazine back in the States.
Right.
And then I'm guessing somebody saw that and said, oh, let's make that into a movie?
Oh, no, the movie had come out.
Oh, okay.
The movie was out. Yeah,
I see.
it just wasn't acknowledged that he was the subject, that he was the person who had inspired it.
Did he have any idea? I think you said he didn't have any idea.
Yes, I think, I mean, my recollection, well, not really to be trusted, but I think he was, insulted that he hadn't gotten more visibility.
And so you came along, and now you've got this article. Did that get him more visibility?
I don't know. I mean, he ran into a lot of trouble. He is no longer with us. I do think he finally was acknowledged. I think that Paul Hogan did ultimately say it publicly, but I kind of don't remember.
Well, that's kind of a story. I mean, I wonder how he got on the radar
Of Paul Hogan.
of whoever,
Who knows?
Paul Hogan or whoever wrote that movie.
Yeah, don't know.
Huh.
Do not
That
know.
sounds fun. And what are some of the other memorable assignments you had over the years?
Well, I had a lot. I mean, when I worked for Life, I traveled a ton. I went to Nicaragua during the war. I went to Argentina to do a story on the disappeared, which was very chilling. And some people love that, like, there are war photographers and war reporters, and they really, maybe enjoy is the wrong word, but they do get a lot of adrenaline doing that kind of thing.
And you would have also gotten a lot of adrenaline, I'm guessing, being there in a war zone.
Oddly, no. It's weird. No. I remember when I was going to Nicaragua and Time Inc. had everything like in the building. You went downstairs and got your shots, and you went upstairs and got your money. And I had to sign this waiver saying basically that the magazine wasn't liable if I got blown up.
Right.
And so that was the one side. And then my mother, when I told her I was going, she said, "Oh, great. Wow, Nicaragua, they get very dressed up at night. So please, bring some nice clothing."
That is
But
ridiculous.
when you're there, or when I was there, when it's all around you, I guess I was just kind of doing my job. So I didn't feel scared.
Huh. Well, so what does get your adrenaline flowing?
This.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Kidding.
You're welcome. Really?
Yes, it's so nerve-wracking to me. I
Well,
mean,
that's
you're
so
a
funny.
lovely host. You really are. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
well,
sure this is the
thank
best
you.
experience one could have, but
But you've been on the other side of this. You've been asking the
Always.
questions your whole life.
always.
So this gets the adrenaline flowing.
Terrifying.
Well, I'm sorry. Also, this drink is delicious.
Oh,
so,
good. Do you want another?
Drink up.
There's plenty
Maybe,
more.
but I
Yep.
think you should finish yours and
God.
see if that calms down the adrenaline. Well, so where does that come from? Have you interviewed people in the past and they were nervous and had their adrenaline
Oh,
was
yes. My
And-
favorite story is Mel Gibson. I think he was maybe newly sober.
Uh-huh.
It was
As I pour myself another drink.
It was so terrible. So for the first 15 minutes, it was like I was taking a drill to his molars with no Novocaine. He just looked stricken with like, "How are you?" He was paralyzed. So finally I said, maybe we just shouldn't do this, which for me was a little scary because it meant no cover for the magazine. But he said, no, let's go ahead. So then it got a little bit better. And I guess he liked the story because he put it in his press packet.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's got to be kind of gratifying to write a story and then the person you profiled.
If they like it, yeah, it is. It is.
Right.
You try not to have that in mind, but yeah.
And so I'm guessing this happened in L.A.
Yes.
And would it have been for L.A. Magazine or People or
Yes.
Life?
LA Magazine. That was, yeah.
And how long did you work at L.A. Magazine?
A long time. I think 15-ish maybe years.
Do you still get any calls from the old people saying, "I got a job, I thought of you, it would be really good"?
Not from LA Magazine. That's a completely different. I mean, they were bought twice, I think, since I've been there, and
Right.
it's unrecognizable. I did have one editor who I loved working with, who was at Condé Nast Traveler and then at the Wall Street Journal, and she's now at the New York Times Magazine. But I haven't worked with her for a while. I think I've just kind of receded. Like if you're not kind of in it, you're not in it.
Right, if you're not around and sort of
Yeah.
doing whatever you
And I'm
can
up
to be top,
here. It's not
top
like
mind.
I'm near anything that's
So
particularly
at
topical.
some point, did you ever think like, "Oh, I wouldn't mind writing a book," or collecting all these experiences and putting it in a book?
No, I never
No.
did think of No.
But objectively, it's a ridiculously fascinating life you've led, traveling all over the world, interviewing like the most famous people in the world.
But I didn't keep a journal. I don't know. I mean, I think other people have done that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Huh.
I don't have that mindset. It's weird. I don't.
Yeah. And so at some point, I think for LA Magazine, you started writing on food.
Yes, I was the food editor and the dining guide editor, yeah,
Uh-huh.
along with other stuff. But yes,
Right.
yeah.
And were you a foodie? Are you a chef? I mean, how did you get
Not a
tapped
chef so
for
much.
that?
Always interested in food.
Right.
Yeah, my mother thought I should be a secretary or a cook. So
Secretary or cook.
yeah.
But you
So I
couldn't
guess I
type
was
fast
always-
enough, so
Yeah.
you chose cook.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I've always liked food, and I really admire chefs. I mean, I think it is such a hard job, and they just do so much, and they work with the farmers, and it's the chefs that I worked with in LA. They're really collaborative. The women in particular, they're like if a new chef comes to town, they're so helpful with their resources and where to get this and that, and
That's
I-
interesting
I
to
admire
hear.
them
Because
hugely.
the TVs and the TV shows and the movies sort of like always make the chefs to be enormous tyrants
Right.
with a heart of gold inside.
Yeah. But I don't think, I mean, I think the tyrant in the kitchen is a little bit passe these days. I'm sure there are still some, but
And so, did you ever think about working in a kitchen?
oh, God, it's too hard. It's 24/7. Like that, I couldn't do it.
It's a terrible thing.
It's really
Yeah,
hard.
It's not a job. It seems like it's a whole lifestyle.
Yeah, it is.
Oof.
But I love writing about them.
Yeah. And have you written about any of the local chefs here?
I haven't because I haven't really been writing here.
Right.
Yeah.
And well, which local chefs, name a few of them, spring to mind as people who are like really making the most interesting food?
Okay. I don't go out to eat that much, but I
You
think
don't?
Rich Reeves does.
Yeah. Rhinecliff resident.
Bia. Mm-hmm.
Right. An elephant before that,
An elephant before
which
that.
is where I
yes.
fell in love with this cooking.
Oh, and I wasn't here for Elephant. That was before my time. Susie is a great cook. She's
Okay.
not a chef, but she's a great cook.
Okay. Cook.
I think Sandy's a great cook.
Sandy at the Morton
from the
Library.
Yes.
Okay, now you've sort of segued to all these other things. Susie started this sort of eco thing called Dirty Gaia.
Dirty Gaia.
What
One of
is-
her many endeavors. Yeah.
What in the world is Dirty Gaia?
Dirty Gaia is an eco-education group. So we put on workshops and presentations about kind of everything that's eco-related. I think Sue and the third person in the group is named Caitlin Dougherty. They started with something called Backyard to Table, and they were helping people make raised beds. And then that just evolved into all sorts of everything. We do the Gardeners Round Table every February usually, which is a group of well-known gardeners, mostly well-known gardeners, like people who come up from the Roosevelt Gardens to talk, just to have a round table and talk about growing. And we're having a basket weaving workshop coming up with Phragmites, because Phragmites are an invasive and you don't want them, but they make a very nice basket.
Really? And what are they called? The Stagmites?
Phragmites, they're the big reeds. You see them everywhere. They invade on cattails. So where there used to be cattails, now there's just seas of Phragmites. When you go to Tops, all that whole field looks like
You look
weed.
like tall grasses. You look like ornamental grasses.
Yeah,
But they're an invasive species.
they are, and they clog waterways. And
And so, but they make good baskets.
they make good baskets, as we'll find out on Saturday. And then June 11th, we're having a screening of Common Ground at Upstate. We partner with a lot of people. We partner with Winnicke Land Trust on all sorts of walks, and we have something called Walk the Land. Now it's called Walk and Restore the Land, where we'll go usually in Bly Marsh, which is one of Winnicke's properties.
Uh-huh.
And we'll either do bird walking or what else have we done? Oh, like identify trees in winter, tracking.
Well, then,
Yeah.
identify trees with no leaves, no nuts,
No.
just sort of the twig and branch structure and
Yeah.
the bark.
Yeah, the bark. The bark is a big part of it.
And so, how are you at that? Pretty good.
No, not
No.
at all. No, but I'm so impressed that people can do it.
Well, so who is somebody in Dirty Gaia? The other two people who run it, are they particularly adept at that, or do you hire local
Sue's-
experts?
Oh, we always hire a local expert. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Sue knows a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. And so, how did it happen that you got involved in that?
I think I met Sue probably through Sandy and just being around.
And how'd you meet Sandy
Oh, she's the first person I met in Rhinecliff.
when you moved here?
Yes, maybe even before I was moved here. I went in with my friend Beth, who was one of the gang, the Newport gang,
To the Morton Memorial Library.
to the Morton Memorial Library because it was across the street.
Right.
And Beth had her dog Dave, who, fun fact, Dave's growling is the sound of the zombies eating in Walk the Dead, just saying. So we went in, and Sandy was so friendly, and she had biscuits for the dog, and that was that. And then, so she gave me the job at the library. And then I think, and then the Seed Sisters, we had the seed garden at the community garden where we grow plants for seeds, and then Sandy gives them out at the library.
Uh-huh.
So I guess I knew Sue through that, and maybe she wanted a writer person. So
Oh, she wanted a writer person.
I think that's how I came on. Yeah, it's the writer person.
So you went to the Morton Library, you met Sandy, and all of a sudden, and
Yes.
this is before you moved here. Where did you move here from?
From
L.A.?
Cold Spring immediately, but I was in
Okay.
Cold Spring for a year, LA before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how did you get from L.A. to Cold Spring?
I was ready to leave LA,
How
And-
come?
aged out, time to go. And I'm from the East Coast, so I'd never planned to stay there that long. And some of my friends, back to the Newport gang, back to the Philadelphia gang, where they had so Beth, who has the dog Dave, she and her husband, oddly, we always wound up living in the same place, like not planning to, but in LA, I had a house on a little tiny walk street, this big. And one day a mutual friend called and we were talking. I said, "Where are you? It sounds so echoey." He said, "I'm in Beth's new house. It's 2 doors down." So just coincidentally, someone I've known for 50 years moved.
My goodness.
Anyway, so she was in LA, and then her husband had bought this place in Red Hook. So, and then she had a sister who was in Cold Spring, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll want to be nearer to the city, so I'll go to Cold Spring. So I was there for a year, and I thought, that's not my place. And then I wound up here.
So you started looking for a place up here.
I did. I came up here it was coming up because Cold Spring at that time was very dead in the winter. It really didn't have restaurants even. I think one restaurant was open, and it didn't have a movie theater. So I would come up here, and one rainy day I was in, not Hammertown, what's the name of that other, some dress shop or clothing store, Haldora.
Okay.
And I said, "Is there any place to get lunch around here?" And so she pointed me vaguely towards Posto. And I went in there, and it was so cozy and warm. And there was the owner, who reminded me of Johnny Depp. And it turned out that he had worked at this very fancy restaurant in Napa that I knew of. And I had a delicious pizza. And I thought, I want to live here.
That's it. The comfort food. And so you started looking around for a place.
I did.
And how did you
Sorry.
land in Rhinecliff instead of Rhinebeck or Red
Well,
Hook? Or,
it's not because I was buying a house for myself, one person, and it's not that easy to find one that's suitable.
right.
And so I looked and looked, and then my real estate agent, Billy Woods, said, how about this one in Rhinecliff? And I said, "What is Rhinecliff?" And I said to
Right.
my friend Beth, "What is Rhinecliff?" She said, "Oh, Rhinecliff, you want to be in Rhinecliff." I said, "Okay."
Nice.
And I loved the house. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so how long have you been here?
I think since 2017,
Uh-huh.
16, 17.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've got a little house, I'm guessing 2 bedrooms and
Yeah.
a little garden.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you've got some raised beds.
No raised beds
Why not?
because I don't get enough sun. But I have
Oh.
a plot at the community garden for my vegetables.
The community garden at the Star Library, at the Star
Correct.
Park?
Yes.
Huh. And how big are those plots there?
I think mine's like 10 by 20, and then I
Seems
co-manage the pantry plot,
You
So
do
we
what?
were-
Oh,
I-
you co-manage the pantry. Huh.
and we have the seed plot. So
And
I have a
that's
lot
the
of plots.
food pantry at
Yeah, so
the
we grow
Episcopal
food.
Church?
For the Episcopal and for Rhinebeck Reform. So for 2 pantries, we grow
Oh,
food.
that's so nice.
Yeah, it's great.
I didn't know it came from there.
Not all of it, but we
But
contribute.
even some, that's spectacular.
Yeah, a lot of the farms.
And so
donate.
what do you grow? What are you really looking forward to coming up?
I did rutabagas this year, which I've never done,
Why?
because someone else at the garden did them, and I'm a copycat.
Also known as Swedes, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And I do long beans, Chinese long beans. They're like 15 inches long, maybe. And I do Malabar spinach, which I love. Have you had that?
I'm not sure.
It's a vining spinach, and the leaves are kind of thick and mucilaginous, like okra.
Ew.
They're Yeah, you love it or you
that
don't.
word. No, I don't mind. I like okra, and I know exactly what mucilage. I didn't even
But the
say it.
word sounds like what it is.
And so, I
They're
mean,
so
with
good.
okra, sometimes people soak it first to sort of like diminish the mucilaginousness.
Oh,
Do you do anything like that with
no.
this?
I
Okay.
love that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really good.
Uh-huh. And so, of all the things you've been growing, which one is the biggest surprise versus how you had always experienced its flavor before? Which one is like, holy crap, this is so much better or so much worse?
Oh, well, I guess, and people always say this, and I haven't grown asparagus myself, but I have gotten it fresh from someone else's plot. Not stolen, given. And fresh asparagus is pretty good. That's pretty great. Yeah. And like fruit, raspberries, strawberries straight off.
Right.
And they're still warm from the sun. Yum.
Is there a lot of asparagus thievery around here?
Well, there has been thievery at the plot,
At the
at the garden.
at the garden.
One person struggled to get one artichoke on her plant, and someone stole it.
And what? Someone
stole it.
stole it. Oh no.
Cut it right off. Yeah.
So it was like clearly
imagine.
stolen.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a flying rabbit that came
No.
in.
These guys are dying over here.
That's so what?
It's just out there in Radioland. It's very warm in here.
That's so
Just saying.
sad.
Yeah.
And is there any? I mean, there are no cameras or anything. So
No, there was
talk.
talk of putting in cameras. We thought that's just
Yeah.
can't do that.
Why not?
That's just terrible.
And
That's
the
too
person
techy.
whose artichoke was stolen was also against the idea of cameras.
I think so. And
That's
also,
just-
it's probably nobody that you're ever going to find them again unless you have cameras in the parking lot. You're going to track their license plate
That's
number.
so cold.
Yeah.
So do you suspect that it was an outsider? I can't imagine
I
a
do.
fellow gardener would do that.
I have to think it was an outsider.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. So 10 by 20, that's a big plot. Is that what you said yours was?
I think it's that, yeah.
What other things do you grow in there? Do you do canning?
I don't do canning. No,
Okay.
I don't. I do, what do I do? Chard and beets and onions and garlic and tomatoes, echinacea, that kind of thing.
Uh-huh. What in
Dahlias. I do a few dahlias every year.
Oh, you do?
I do.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Do you grow anything at your house or it just doesn't get enough sunlight?
You have to go by my house.
I will.
It's an English garden in front right now.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
How nice.
Yeah.
And
And then in back, there's a ton of stuff.
do you have like little tea roses and what goes
Not
into an English?
roses. I have foxgloves and something called deutzia. I have a lot of allium. I have a mess of stuff because I forget what I've planted and then I plant on top of it and then everything comes up at once.
So you don't, I'm guessing you don't keep like a map, a schematic of.
I do and I lose it.
You do?
Yeah, no, I'm really not. I'm not organized in that way.
Uh-huh. And
I
so
start out organized.
and so you're always planting things on top of.
Yeah, because things die back in the fall, and then I'm planting fall bulbs, so I plant the bulbs. Here,
So,
oops, I forgot.
so
there's
you
a
sort of
plant.
plan it like that so that you'll have a whole season of things coming up at different times?
In my mind, I'm doing that.
In my mind.
Yes, in my mind's eye, that's how it all works.
And what are the first things that came up in your garden?
Allium. Well, daffodils first,
Uh-huh.
then allium, and then I've got some currants that are about to pop.
And what else? It's like peony season now.
I don't have peonies.
How come?
I don't. I
very
had a lot of them
very
growing up. I don't know.
popular.
Just felt no need to redo that. Yeah.
Peonies, been there, done that. A good name for your autobiography, if you ever decide to write. That's very interesting. And are there things that you did have a lot of growing up that you have a sentimental and positive attachment to that you are growing?
No.
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 All right. Well, I'm going to walk by your house. It's somewhere up this road. I know because I saw you walking down here for this.
Actually, we had a dogwood tree that
Torturous.
was really nice. I like the dogwood tree.
Oh,
But
yeah.
actually, well, okay, indication of my mother. Let's see. She had a lot going on. So where she could cut corners in terms of attention, she did. And that included having plastic tulips in her garden.
Oh,
Yeah, because the squirrels couldn't get those.
wow.
Yeah.
And this was in Philadelphia.
Yeah, outside of in the verbs. Yeah.
Plastic tulips.
Yeah, they were white with like a greenish tinge.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And canned spinach.
Canned spinach?
Yeah.
Oh, frozen.
Frozen.
Canned cherries. I really didn't know cherries were red till I was about 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I didn't know canned cherries were not red. I thought they all
No.
had massive amounts of food coloring.
Well, maybe not in my day. They're kind of tan.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Curious texture too.
And
But the pit is the same.
right. And so you like to cook. Do you cook any recipes from your youth or recipes you grew up
Chili
with?
con carne in an electric stove, not electric stove.
In a
electric frying
crock
pan.
pot?
No, electric frying pan.
Uh-huh.
No. I mean, I'm pretty much a vegetarian, and that wasn't really our.
And nobody was in the 70s or so when you were
No.
growing up. So what is your favorite thing to cook? If somebody was coming over you really wanted to impress, what dish would you make them?
I'd panic because I don't eat like normal people. So, I don't know. I make risotto sometimes, and I'm always conflicted whether or not I should impose my vegetarianism on company, which I don't like to do really. But then I think, well, I don't know. Can they get by with that? So I'll do chicken. I have some chicken dishes.
And do you eat chicken once in a while?
Once in a while, yeah. I'm not rigid about it.
So you're not
Like given my
completely
druthers. No, but
selling yourself out to serve chicken to a guest.
yeah. And I don't want to serve
Just-
someone rice and beans probably. I don't know.
Yum.
Yeah, right? Yeah, delicious.
One of my favorite foods.
Yeah, good.
And
You can come over.
Yeah, they have decent rice and beans at the Puerto Rican place here.
Oh, I
in
haven't
town.
been there. I
As
really
you'd-
want to go.
As you'd expect. Mine are better, of course.
Are they?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Mine are better. I learned from my sister who lived in Puerto Rico for about a decade.
Oh,
And she learned her husband was from there. And so his relatives, his mom and aunts and uncles all had their own secrets for rice and beans.
is there lard involved?
No,
Really?
no. Not in the one that came to me.
I love I lived in Mexico for a little bit, and they have those ceramic pots. Not ceramic, I guess, but kind of clay pots. The beans were always on the stove.
Right.
Delish.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so do you cook for yourself most nights?
I do. Yeah.
And what are the things? Do you make a big batch of stuff and then sort of warm up some?
No.
You make something fresh each
I
night?
do. Like, I don't save stuff. I don't have a lot of stuff in the freezer.
Right.
A la minute. Yeah, I do.
A la minute.
I like things to be fresh. I
And
just feel like
so
the
what's
soul
for
goes out
dinner
of it.
tonight?
I don't know, but I do have some kind of purple bok choy that I've been growing, and I thought I could probably do something with that. So, but I don't know. I often just saute stuff: rice, pasta, sautéed vegetables of some sort, beans, maybe not.
Right.
It's very simple, really simple people.
Yeah. And three squares a day? Breakfast,
I'm
lunch?
glad we're talking about my diet.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think so either, but here we are.
No, I'm not. Sorry, I'm not a big lunch person, so I
Right.
wouldn't say that was square. I'd say that was more triangular.
Yeah.
I'd say a circular
Just a little
breakfast,
snack.
triangular lunch, and oblongish dinner.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, good. Well, that's
Yeah.
a good place to tie it up. There, we've got your eating habits in there. We're out of time. It's flown
Wow.
by.
Off we go.
I hope it. Look at you, huge smile, like the torture is over.
No, it's very, very fun to speak with you.
Well, Margot Dougherty, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you,
Finally,
Norm.
After begging and cajoling for years and years.
Only
It's
'cause I'm shy.
been wonderful talking with you.
Thank you so much.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Have a great Friday and a fabulous 3-day weekend.
That's
Happy
right.
Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day.